Hey everyone, welcome back to English with Ms. Aisha. Today I want to clear up something that confuses so many English learners, and honestly it's something your textbook probably got completely backwards. We're talking about the difference between saying, I'm good and I'm well. Now if you learned English in school, you were probably taught that I'm well is the grammatically perfect answer when someone asks, how are you? And that I'm good is technically wrong. But here's the truth. In real, everyday American English, almost everyone says I'm good, and if you walk around saying I'm well all the time, you're actually going to sound a little formal or even a bit unnatural. So today, I'm going to explain the real difference between these two phrases, when Americans actually use each one, and why your textbook might have misled you. By the end of this lesson, you'll understand how native speakers really talk, and you'll sound way more natural in everyday conversations. Let's get started. Alright, so let's start with what you were probably taught. Your English textbook likely told you that well is an adverb and good is an adjective. So when someone asks, how are you? The grammatically perfect response is, I'm well, because you're describing how you're doing, which requires an adverb. And saying I'm good is technically using an adjective when you should use an adverb, so it's grammatically incorrect. That's the textbook rule. Here's the problem. That rule doesn't reflect how Americans actually speak. In real life, when someone asks, how are you or how's it going, native speakers overwhelmingly say, I'm good. It's natural, it's casual, and it's what you'll hear everywhere from coffee shops to business meetings. Saying I'm well is not wrong, but it sounds formal, old-fashioned, or even a little stuffy. It's the kind of thing you might hear from your grandmother, or in a very formal setting, but it's not how most people talk day to day. So why the disconnect? Well, English textbooks often focus on prescriptive grammar, which is the technically perfect way language should work according to traditional rules. But real spoken English is descriptive, which means it reflects how people actually use the language, regardless of whether it follows every grammar rule perfectly. And in American English, the reality is that I'm good has become the standard response. It's so common that saying I'm well can actually make you sound like you're trying too hard to be grammatically perfect. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear. I'm not saying grammar doesn't matter. It absolutely does, especially in formal writing or professional contexts. But when it comes to casual spoken English, sounding natural is often more important than being technically perfect. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Let's talk about when and how Americans use I'm good. The most common situation is as a response to how are you or what's up or how's it going. Someone says, hey, how are you? And you say, I'm good, thanks, how are you? This is the default response. It's friendly, it's casual, and it's what native speakers say without even thinking about it. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm good is actually used in a bunch of other situations too. If someone offers you something like, do you want more coffee? You can say no, I'm good, meaning I'm fine. I don't need anything else. Or if someone asks if you need help, you might say I'm good, thanks, meaning I've got it handled. I don't need assistance. You can also use I'm good to politely decline an invitation. Someone says, do you want to go out tonight? And you say I'm good. I'm just gonna stay in. It's a soft way of saying no without sounding rude or making a big deal out of it. Another really common use is when you're reassuring someone. Let's say you trip and almost fall and someone asks, are you okay? You say, yeah, I'm good, don't worry. It means you're fine, everything's under control. So I'm good isn't just about how you're feeling. It's this versatile phrase that covers a bunch of different meanings depending on the context. And that's part of why it's so deeply embedded in everyday American English. It's simple, it's flexible, and it gets the job done. Now let's talk about I'm well. When do Americans actually use this? The truth is not very often in casual conversation, but there are specific situations where it does come up. First, I'm well is more common in formal or professional settings. If you're at a business dinner or a formal event and someone asks, how are you? You might say, I'm well, thank you. It sounds polished and professional. It's not that people never say it, it's just that it has a more elevated tone. Second, older generations tend to use I'm well more often than younger people. If you're talking to someone in their 60s or 70s, you might hear, "I'm well," because that's what they were taught growing up, and it's what feels natural to them. Third, "I'm well," is often used when you're specifically talking about your health. If someone asks, "How are you feeling after being sick?" you might say, "I'm well now, thank you." In this context, well clearly refers to your physical health, so it makes sense to use it. Fourth, you might use "I'm well" in writing, especially in formal emails or letters. If you're writing to a client or a colleague, you might say, "I hope this email finds you well," or "I'm well, thank you for asking." It's polite, it's professional, and it fits the formality of written communication. So "I'm well" isn't wrong, and it's not completely unused. It's just more limited in scope. It's formal, it's a bit old-fashioned, and it's specific to certain contexts. If you use it in casual everyday conversation, it can sound overly proper, or even a little robotic. All right, so now let's talk about the actual grammar behind this, because some of you might be wondering, okay, but why does "I'm good" work if good is an adjective? Here's the thing. In English, there are certain verbs called linking verbs, or copular verbs. These verbs connect the subject of the sentence to a description of that subject. The verb to be is the most common linking verb. When you use a linking verb, you can follow it with an adjective to describe the subject. So when you say "I'm good," you're using good as a predicate adjective describing the subject, which is I. This is totally grammatically acceptable. You're not using good as an adverb, you're using it as an adjective to describe yourself. Just like you'd say "I'm happy," or "I'm tired," or "I'm excited." Now technically, if you're describing how you're doing in the sense of your manner or condition, well would be the adverb form. So "I'm well" would mean I'm doing in a well manner. But over time in American English, "I'm good" has taken over as the standard way to express that you're fine, or doing okay. It's one of those cases where common usage has shifted the language, and what was once considered informal or incorrect has become the norm. The bottom line is that language evolves. Rules that were rigid 50 or 100 years ago don't always apply the same way today. And in modern American English, "I'm good" is perfectly acceptable and far more common than "I'm well" in casual conversation. This isn't the only case where textbook English and real spoken English don't match up. Let me give you a few more examples. First, there's who versus whom. Textbooks will tell you that you should use whom when it's the object of a sentence. So instead of "who are you talking to," you should say "to whom are you speaking." But in real life, almost no one says that. Native speakers say "who are you talking to," and it sounds completely natural. If you say "to whom are you speaking" in casual conversation, you're going to sound extremely formal. Second, there's the phrase "it's me" versus "it's I." Technically, according to strict grammar rules, you should say "it's I," because the verb to be should be followed by the subject form of the pronoun. But everyone says "it's me." If someone knocks on the door and you say "it's I," people are going to think you're joking or being overly dramatic. Third, there's hopefully. Traditionally, hopefully should only be used to mean in a hopeful manner, as in "she looked at him hopefully." But in modern English, people use it to mean "I hope" or "it is hoped," as in "hopefully it won't rain tomorrow." Grammar purists might complain, but this usage is now completely standard. The point I'm making here is that real English doesn't always follow the strict rules you learned in school. And that's okay. Language is alive. It changes and it reflects how people actually communicate. Your job as a learner isn't to memorize outdated rules, it's to understand how native speakers really talk so you can communicate naturally and effectively. So what should you actually do with this information? Here's my advice. First, in casual, everyday conversation, stick with "I'm good." If someone asks "how are you" or "how's it going?" just say "I'm good, thanks." It's natural, it's friendly, and it's what native speakers expect to hear. Don't overthink it. Second, if you're in a formal professional setting, you can use "I'm well" if it feels more appropriate. If you're at a job interview, a business meeting, or writing a formal email, "I'm well" is perfectly fine. And it might even come across as more polished. Just know that "I'm good" would still be acceptable in most of those contexts too. Third, pay attention to context and who you're talking to. If you're chatting with friends or coworkers, "I'm good" is the way to go. If you're talking to someone much older or in a very formal environment, "I'm well" might fit better. But honestly, you can't go wrong with I'm good in almost any situation. Fourth, don't stress about being grammatically perfect in casual conversation. Native speakers break grammar rules all the time, and it doesn't make them bad at English. It just means they're speaking naturally. Your goal should be to sound natural and communicate clearly, not to follow every textbook rule perfectly. Fifth, keep learning about the differences between textbook English and real spoken English. The more you expose yourself to how native speakers actually talk through movies, podcasts, conversations, the better you'll get at understanding what's natural and what's overly formal. Let's talk about some mistakes learners make with this topic. Mistake number 1 is overusing. I'm well because you think it's more proper. If you're in a casual conversation and someone says, "Hey, how are you?" and you respond, "I am very well, thank you, and how are you?" it's going to sound stiff and unnatural. Keep it simple. Say I'm good or even just good you. Mistake number 2 is thinking I'm good is slang or incorrect. It's not. It's standard modern American English. You don't need to avoid it or feel like you're speaking improperly when you use it. Mistake number 3 is mixing up. I'm good with I'm good at something. These are 2 different uses. I'm good as a response to how are you means I'm fine or I'm doing well. But I'm good at something means you have skill in that area. So don't confuse. I'm good meaning I'm fine with I'm good at playing guitar. Mistake number 4 is being overly formal in casual settings. English learners sometimes think that using more formal language makes them sound smarter or more fluent, but actually it can have the opposite effect. It can make you sound robotic or like you're not comfortable with the language. Aim for natural, not perfect. Alright, quick recap. The textbook version says I'm well is grammatically perfect and I'm good is technically wrong. But the reality is that in everyday American English, almost everyone says I'm good. It's natural, it's versatile, and it's the standard response to how are you. I'm well is more formal, more old-fashioned, and less common in casual conversation. Both are grammatically acceptable, but I'm good is what you'll hear most often. The key takeaway is that sounding natural matters more than following every textbook rule. Real English is different from textbook English, and that's something every learner needs to understand. You guys did awesome today. Understanding the difference between textbook English and real spoken English is so important. And honestly, it's something a lot of learners don't get taught. If this lesson helped you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more lessons that focus on real, natural English. Leave a comment and tell me what other textbook rules you've heard that don't match how people actually talk. I'd love to hear your experiences. Remember, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being understood and sounding natural. So don't be afraid to say I'm good when someone asks how you are. You're not breaking the rules. You're just speaking like a native. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep being amazing. I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care.